Alex had always been an ordinary person, living a life that many would call simple. He worked at a small bookstore in his town, arranging shelves, helping customers find their favorite stories, and occasionally recommending books to those who seemed curious. Life for him was peaceful, predictable, and comfortable, but he had one secret passion that set him apart from most people he knew. He loved looking at the stars. Every night, when the world around him was quiet and calm, Alex would take his telescope out to the backyard of his small house. He would spend hours staring at the sky, fascinated by the endless stretch of stars and wondering about the mysteries beyond his world. On a night when the air was crisp and the sky unusually clear, Alex set up his telescope as usual. The moon shone brightly, and the stars twinkled like tiny diamonds scattered across a dark canvas. He adjusted the focus on his telescope and scanned the sky, following constellations he had memorized over the years. Suddenly, something caught his eye, a light that moved differently from the stars. At first he thought it was a shooting star, and he smiled at the thought. But then he realized it wasn't falling. It was descending slowly, almost gently, toward the ground nearby. His curiosity and excitement grew. He had seen many things in his life, but nothing like this. He grabbed his flashlight and carefully walked toward the area where the light seemed to be landing. His heart pounded with both fear and excitement. What could it be? Another meteor? A drone? Or something else entirely? As he got closer, the light became brighter and warmer. Then, just as he reached the clearing, the light suddenly shifted and formed into a shape. Alex blinked several times, unable to believe what he was seeing. Before him stood a figure unlike anything he had ever imagined. She had an otherworldly presence, her skin glowing softly with a light that seemed natural, yet extraordinary. Her eyes were deep and intelligent, reflecting a wisdom and understanding that felt ancient. She was tall, graceful, and moved with a quiet confidence that immediately commanded attention. Alex froze, unsure whether to speak or move. Fear and awe battled inside him. He wanted to run, but his legs felt rooted to the ground. The figure tilted her head slightly, observing him as if she could see straight into his thoughts. Then she lifted one hand slowly and pointed directly at him. Alex felt a strange warmth spread through his chest, a mixture of fear, wonder, and an unexplainable sense of connection. Her voice, soft but clear, echoed in his mind. "This is the human I choose." For a moment, Alex couldn't speak. His mind raced with questions. What did she mean by choose? Why him? Was he dreaming? His life had always been ordinary, unremarkable even. How could a being so extraordinary notice him in a world so vast? Yet, the way she looked at him made it clear that her choice was deliberate. It was not random, and it was not an illusion. Gathering his courage, Alex finally managed to ask, Who are you?" His voice shook slightly, betraying his fear. The figure smiled gently, and her eyes seemed to twinkle, even more brightly. She did not answer immediately. Instead, she tilted her head, studying him for a long moment as if trying to understand the depths of his mind and heart. Finally, she spoke again, her words calm and deliberate. "I am the one who will show you a world beyond this. I am the princess of a place you cannot yet imagine, and you, human, are the one I have chosen to see it." Alex's mind reeled. A princess? A place beyond Earth? It was impossible to process all at once. Everything he had known about life, about reality, about what was possible, seemed to shift in an instant. His thoughts jumped from fear to excitement, from disbelief to curiosity. Could this really be happening? Or was he losing his mind under the weight of the night sky and the strange light? Trying to make sense of it all, Alex took a cautious step forward. The princess did not move away. Instead, she waited patiently, as if she understood the confusion he must be feeling. Alex noticed the faint hum around her, a sound so soft that it was almost part of the air itself. It was calming, yet filled with energy. He realized that he was not alone in this moment. He was part of something larger than he had ever experienced. Questions began to form in his mind, but the princess seemed to answer them without speaking. The way she moved, the way she looked at him, and the way she pointed at him all communicated something beyond words. She had chosen him for a reason, and that reason was important. Alex felt a mixture of fear and pride. Fear because he had no idea what lay ahead, and pride because somehow he had been recognized, selected for something extraordinary. As the night progressed, Alex and the princess remained in the clearing, watching the stars together. She did not speak much, but her presence was comforting. It was as if the universe itself had come closer, folding space and time around this single extraordinary meeting. Alex slowly began to relax, though his mind was still racing. He realized that his life, which had once felt simple and ordinary, was about to change forever. By the time the first hints of dawn touched the sky, Alex understood one thing clearly. He could not ignore this encounter. The princess had chosen him, and whatever that meant, it was a calling he could not refuse. His heart pounded with a mixture of anticipation and wonder. He had no idea what lay ahead, but for the first time in his life, he felt that he was part of something bigger, something extraordinary, something beyond human understanding. And so, under the soft glow of a morning sky and the fading brilliance of stars, Alex realized that his life as he knew it was over. New story had begun, a story that would take him far from the ordinary and into the unimaginable. The princess had spoken, she had chosen, and now it was up to him to step forward into the unknown. The morning after the encounter, Alex could barely sleep. His mind kept replaying the moment when the princess had chosen him. Every detail, the glow of her skin, the depth of her eyes, the way she had pointed at him, felt alive in his memory. Even the quiet hum that seemed to follow her lingered in his ears. For hours he stared out of his window, half expecting to see the strange light appear again. To his amazement, it did. By mid-morning, the light returned, descending slowly from the sky as if waiting for him. Alex rushed outside, his heart racing, unsure whether excitement or fear was stronger. The princess landed in the clearing near his house, moving with the same graceful calm that had first stunned him. She did not speak immediately. Instead, she gestured for Alex to follow her, and though he had no idea what to expect, he obeyed. Thingdays walked together to a place Alex had never noticed before, a hilltop just beyond his town. From there, he could see the world stretch out below him, yet it felt different somehow, as though he were standing between two realities. The princess looked at him with a gentle smile and spoke for the first time since the morning, her voice calm and musical. "Alex," she said, "I want you to understand my world. It is not like yours, but it is filled with beauty, knowledge, and challenges that you have never imagined. You must learn, if you are to stay." Alex felt both nervous and curious. He had always thought of his life as quiet and normal, and suddenly he was being asked to learn about a civilization from another world. "Where is your world?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The princess's eyes sparkled. "Far beyond your sky, in a place you cannot reach without help. My people have traveled through space for many generations. We value knowledge, wisdom, and the ability to understand the universe in ways humans rarely can. Yet," she paused, looking directly at him, "we also see qualities in humans that are rare even among us. You, Alex, have been chosen because of those qualities." Alex tried to understand her words. "But I am just me. I work in a bookstore. I look at stars. I am not special." She shook her head slowly. "Special does not always mean powerful or famous. It means having heart, courage, curiosity, and the ability to think in ways others cannot. These are what make humans valuable, in ways even my people struggle to understand." For the next few hours, the princess began to show Alex glimpses of her world. She did not transport him there yet, but she explained the customs, the people, and the technology that shaped her civilization. Alex listened, amazed as she described ships that could travel faster than light, cities that floated in the sky, and beings whose understanding of reality went beyond simple logic. Yet despite all this, she emphasized that her people struggled with the simple, unpredictable, and creative thinking that humans often displayed. Alex found it hard to imagine such a world. His mind tried to picture floating cities, beings of incredible intelligence and technology that seemed like magic. Yet, the more she spoke, the more he realized that this world was not just a fantasy. It was real, and he had been invited to see it with his own eyes. The thought both thrilled and frightened him. Over the next few days, Alex began learning more. The princess returned to the clearing each night, patiently answering his questions. She showed him small examples of her people's culture, the way they communicated without words, the methods they used to solve problems, and the rituals they performed to honor their history and achievements. Alex felt like a student, but one who was learning lessons that could change his life forever. One evening, as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Alex voiced a concern he could not shake. What if I can't understand it all? What if I make mistakes? The princess looked at him with a kind, steady gaze. Mistakes are part of learning. What matters is your willingness to try, to understand, and to use what you know in ways that are honest and creative. That is why I chose you. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be human. Her words struck Alex deeply. He had spent much of his life thinking that being ordinary meant being invisible, unnoticed, or unimportant. But now he realized that being human, being curious, brave, and willing to try, was enough. It was exactly why she had chosen him. Over the following week, Alex's nights became a mix of wonder, excitement, and small challenges. The princess would show him minor tasks like understanding alien symbols, observing patterns in ways his mind was not used to, or practicing patience with creatures that moved and thought differently than anything on Earth. Sometimes Alex struggled. He grew frustrated when he could not grasp the concepts quickly. Other times he succeeded and felt a rush of pride and joy. Through it all, the princess remained patient, offering guidance and gentle encouragement rather than criticism. Alex also began to notice subtle changes in himself. He thought more carefully, observed more deeply, and learned to trust his instincts. Even though he was still fully human, he realized that his ability to think outside the rules and patterns of logic was something extraordinary in her world. The princess had chosen someone not for strength, skill, or knowledge, but for heart and perspective, qualities that even her advanced civilization sometimes lacked. One night, as they watched the stars together, Alex asked a question that had been on his mind for days. Why me? Out of all the humans in the universe, why did you choose me? The princess smiled, a quiet light in her eyes. Because you are willing to see the world as it truly is, not as it should be. You are willing to wonder, to question, and to act with honesty. You have courage, even when you do not know what will happen next. That is rare, Alex. That is why I chose you. Her words left Alex speechless. He felt both humbled and inspired. The quiet life he had known suddenly seemed like only the beginning of a much larger story. He realized that his curiosity, his love for stars, and his simple acts of kindness were part of what made him valuable, not just on Earth, but in a universe far beyond. As days turned into weeks, Alex began to feel more comfortable with the princess and her world. He learned to navigate the small challenges she gave him, to observe without judgment, and to approach the unknown with both caution and curiosity. Each night he went home to sleep with a sense of anticipation, knowing that the next meeting would bring new lessons, new wonders, and new steps into a reality he had never imagined. And through it all, the princess continued to watch him with the same gentle patience and deep understanding that had first drawn her to him. Alex began to understand that learning about her world was not just about knowledge or skill. It was about connection, trust, and the courage to step into something greater than himself. By the end of the second part of his journey, Alex knew one thing clearly: his life on Earth would never be the same again. He was no longer just a human in a quiet town. He was a chosen visitor to a world of wonder, a student of a civilization beyond imagination, and someone who had been recognized for what made him uniquely human. The adventure had only just begun, and the possibilities seemed limitless. As Alex spent more time with the princess, he began to realize that understanding her world would not be easy. Her civilization was incredibly advanced, with knowledge and skills far beyond anything he had ever encountered on Earth. The princess explained that before he could truly belong in her world, he would need to face a series of trials. These trials were not meant to harm him, but to test his mind, heart, and ability to adapt. They were designed to see if he could handle challenges that required patience, creativity, and compassion, qualities humans often took for granted. The first trial came sooner than Alex expected. Early one morning, the princess led him to a courtyard filled with objects that looked like glowing crystals. Each crystal emitted light in a different color, and some pulsed gently as if they were alive. She explained that these crystals held information, patterns, and messages, but they were not written in any language Alex had ever seen. His task was to understand the message within each crystal and arrange them in a sequence that made sense. At first, Alex felt completely lost. He stared at the crystals, unsure how to begin. The princess watched silently, her expression calm but expectant. He took a deep breath and decided to trust his instincts. He began touching the crystals gently, noticing the rhythm of the light and the subtle vibrations they produced. Slowly, he started to recognize patterns, using his intuition rather than logic alone. After several hours, he managed to arrange the crystals correctly. The light from them shifted, forming a beautiful, harmonious glow. The princess smiled, clearly pleased. "This is just the beginning," she said. "You are learning to trust yourself. That is the first step." The next trial tested his understanding of alien communication. The princess brought him to a room filled with beings who could not speak in words but communicated through color changes, gestures, and vibrations. Alex had to learn to understand their messages and respond appropriately. It was difficult at first. He often misinterpreted their intentions, which led to confusion and minor frustration. But over time, he began to notice patterns and subtle cues that allowed him to communicate more effectively. The beings responded to him with curiosity and warmth, and Alex realized that even in a world so different from his own, connection was possible. One evening, as they rested after a long day of challenges, Alex admitted his fears. "I am not sure I belong here," he said quietly. "Everything is so strange, and I feel like I make mistakes constantly." The princess placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Belonging does not mean never failing. It means trying, learning, and growing. Your mistakes teach you more than your successes ever could. That is why I chose you. You have the courage to face the unknown even when it is difficult." The trials grew more complex. Alex was asked to solve puzzles that involved multiple dimensions, situations that required him to make decisions for the well-being of others, and tasks that challenged his ability to think creatively under pressure. Each trial pushed him further outside his comfort zone, and at times he felt exhausted and overwhelmed. Yet, with the princess's guidance, he discovered strengths he never knew he had. One trial, in particular, tested his empathy. The princess presented him with a situation in which he had to help two alien factions resolve a disagreement that had lasted for centuries. Alex had no experience with diplomacy or negotiation, and the ideas and customs of these beings were completely foreign to him. He spent hours listening, observing, and trying different approaches. At first, his suggestions were ignored or misunderstood, but he refused to give up. Using simple reasoning, patience, and honesty, he finally found a solution that satisfied both factions. The princess watched silently, her eyes filled with pride. "You see, Alex," she said, "humans have a gift that even the most advanced beings sometimes lack. Your perspective is unique, and your heart guides you in ways that logic alone cannot." As the trials continued, Alex grew more confident. He began to understand that success was not about speed or perfection, but about persistence, creativity, and empathy. Each challenge taught him something new about himself and the world around him. He learned to trust his instincts, to stay calm under pressure, and to see solutions where others saw only obstacles. Despite the difficulties, there were moments of joy and wonder. The princess often showed Alex aspects of her world that were breathtakingly beautiful. They watched skies filled with colors he had never imagined, walked through gardens with plants that glowed in the dark, and observed creatures that moved with grace and intelligence. These moments reminded Alex why he was here, not just to pass trials, but to experience the richness of a world that was entirely different from his own. Over time, a bond of trust and friendship grew between Alex and the princess. She admired his courage and his ability to remain kind and honest, even when the challenges were overwhelming. He admired her patience, wisdom, and gentle guidance. Their relationship became a partnership, built on mutual respect and understanding. Alex realized that he was no longer just learning about her world, he was becoming a part of it. One night, after completing a particularly difficult trial, Alex sat with the princess under a sky filled with stars and swirling lights. "I never imagined I could do these things," he said softly. "I always thought I was ordinary." The princess smiled and shook her head. "Ordinary is only a word, Alex. What matters is what you do, how you try, and how you care. You are extraordinary because you have heart, courage, and the ability to see the world differently. That is what makes you valuable here." As he listened, Alex felt a sense of pride and purpose he had never known. The trials had been hard, but they had changed him. He was no longer just a human from a small town. He was someone who could face the unknown, adapt to new challenges, and make a difference. He began to understand why the princess had chosen him in the first place. By the end of the third part of his journey, Alex had passed several trials and was well on his way to understanding his role in the princess's world. He had learned that being human was not a weakness, it was a strength. His creativity, empathy, and persistence had allowed him to succeed where others might have failed. And most importantly, he had learned to trust himself, knowing that the princess believed in him even when he doubted himself. Alex knew that more challenges awaited him, and that the path ahead would not always be easy. But he also knew that he was not alone. With the princess's guidance and the skills he had begun to develop, he was ready to face whatever came next. He was learning that courage, heart, and curiosity could open doors to worlds beyond imagination, and that sometimes the greatest strength lay in simply being human. Alex had grown more confident in the princess's world, but he quickly realized that not everyone welcomed his presence. While the princess's people were curious and wise, some of them were skeptical and even hostile toward a human entering their society. A group of elders and advisors believed that no outsider, especially a human, could understand their ways or contribute meaningfully. They questioned the princess's judgment and openly doubted Alex's abilities. One morning, the princess led Alex to a grand hall where the council of elders gathered. The room was vast, filled with glowing orbs, floating platforms, and alien architecture that seemed to defy gravity. Alex felt a wave of nervousness. This was the moment when his worth would be judged by those who had never seen him before. Council members spoke in unison, their voices echoing through the hall. They questioned why the princess had chosen a human, and whether Alex could truly handle the responsibilities of participating in their society. Their words were sharp but measured, challenging not only his skills but his very identity. Alex felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He could feel the weight of centuries of tradition and wisdom pressing down on him, and for the first time, he wondered if he belonged here at all. The princess stood by his side, her calm presence reassuring him. "He is not just a human," she said firmly. "He has passed trials that tested courage, empathy, and creativity. His perspective is unique, and he has shown patience and understanding that many of you lack." Alex took a deep breath. He knew he could not rely on the princess alone. He needed to demonstrate his value. The council presented him with a challenge, a scenario in which two communities with opposing interests were on the brink of conflict. They asked Alex to mediate and propose a solution that could prevent further discord. At first, he felt overwhelmed. The society's customs were complex, their languages subtle and full of meaning, and the stakes were high. If he failed, it could confirm the council's doubts. But Alex reminded himself of the lessons he had learned during his trials. Patience, observation, and empathy had always helped him find solutions before. He spent hours listening, observing, and asking questions. He noticed patterns in behavior, subtle signs of mistrust, and small gestures that revealed emotions hidden beneath layers of tradition. Using these observations, he suggested a plan that incorporated elements from both societies' customs, creating a compromise that was fair and sustainable. The council initially resisted, questioning his reasoning and pointing out potential flaws. But Alex calmly explained his perspective, using examples and analogies that even the alien elders could understand. Slowly, the room grew quiet. Members began to see the logic and fairness in his approach. The conflict was resolved peacefully, and the elders, though still cautious, acknowledged that Alex had contributed something valuable. After the meeting, the princess smiled at him. "You see, Alex," she said softly, "humans have a gift that others sometimes lack. Your ability to think differently, to feel deeply, and to act with honesty has brought resolution where logic alone could not. That is why I chose you." The fall experience was transformative for Alex. He realized that belonging was not about conforming to others' expectations. It was about staying true to oneself while learning to navigate new worlds. Though the council still had doubts, he had earned a place of respect and trust. The weeks that followed brought more challenges, but Alex approached each one with courage. He learned that opposition was not meant to harm him. It was a test of character. He practiced diplomacy, strategic thinking, and emotional intelligence, growing stronger and more confident with each success. The princess continued to guide him, offering wisdom and encouragement, but she allowed him to face challenges on his own, knowing that independence was essential for his growth. Over time, Alex noticed that even the skeptics began to change. They watched him patiently, observed how he interacted with their society, and began to see the value in his human perspective. While some remained cautious, many started to respect his abilities and approach. Alex understood that acceptance was earned not by proving superiority, but by demonstrating patience, empathy, and courage consistently over time. By the end of this period, Alex had achieved more than he had imagined possible. He had resolved conflicts, gained respect, and proven that a human could thrive in a world far beyond Earth. More importantly, he had discovered the strength within himself, a combination of curiosity, heart, and courage that made him uniquely suited to this extraordinary journey. He felt a deep sense of accomplishment, knowing that he had not only grown but had helped others grow as well. With the council beginning to accept him, Alex felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had learned so much about the princess's world, but now he realized that the true test was not just understanding the world, but finding his own place within it. Each day brought new experiences, some thrilling, some challenging, but all teaching him more about himself, his strengths, and the uniqueness of being human. The princess continued to guide him gently, but she allowed him to explore independently, trusting him to apply what he had learned. Alex began participating in projects that benefited the society, helping design systems for communication, contributing ideas to improve collaboration among different factions, and even assisting in the creation of educational programs that taught young aliens about creativity and empathy. One day, while walking through a floating garden that shimmered with colors he could barely describe, Alex realized how much he had changed. He was no longer the ordinary human who had spent nights gazing at stars from his backyard. He had become a part of a world filled with wonder, wisdom, and responsibility. He had faced challenges that tested his mind and heart, and had emerged, stronger and more confident. The princess joined him, her presence as calm and radiant as ever. "You have grown," she said, "not just in skill or knowledge, but in spirit. You have proven that humans can bring something valuable to the universe that no one else can." Alex smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "I never imagined I could do all of this," he admitted. I always thought my life would be small, simple, and ordinary, but now I see that even a human from Earth can make a difference." The princess nodded. "It is not your origin that matters, Alex. It is your choices, your courage, and your willingness to face the unknown. That is why I chose you, and that is why you have succeeded." As days turned into weeks, Alex's connection with the princess and her world deepened. They spent time exploring distant lands, observing incredible natural phenomena, and learning from the wisdom of her people. Yet, amidst all the wonder, Alex remained grounded in what made him human: his curiosity, his empathy, and his ability to think and feel in ways that bridged worlds. One evening, as they watched a sky filled with shimmering colors that shifted like a living painting, Alex reflected on everything he had experienced. He thought about the trials he had faced, the opposition he had overcome, and the lessons he had learned. He realized that his journey was not just about surviving or adapting. It was about understanding himself and the value of being human. The princess turned to him, her eyes filled with warmth. "Alex, the world you came from is only one small part of the universe, but you have shown that even a human can leave a mark far beyond your own world. You have taught us that courage, heart, and creativity are gifts that transcend species." Alex felt a deep sense of gratitude. He had been chosen for reasons he did not fully understand at first, but he now saw that it was not just a test, it was an opportunity. He had been given the chance to grow, to learn, and to contribute in ways he never imagined possible. In the weeks that followed, Alex continued to thrive. He formed friendships, contributed to projects, and shared his human perspective with those around him. The princess remained by his side, guiding, encouraging, and celebrating his successes. Together, they discovered that the blending of human and alien perspectives created solutions and ideas neither could have achieved alone. By the end of his journey in this stage, Alex felt a profound sense of accomplishment and belonging. He had grown from a quiet, ordinary human into someone capable of navigating challenges, inspiring others, and making meaningful contributions in a world far beyond his own. He had learned that being human was not a limitation. It was a strength, and one that could bridge worlds and bring harmony where it was needed most. As Alex stood once more under a sky filled with stars, he realized that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just an observer of the universe. He was a participant, a contributor, and a bridge between worlds. The princess's choice had set him on a path of growth, discovery, and wonder, a path that would continue to unfold in ways he could never have imagined. And through it all, he remembered her words from the first night. "This is the human I choose." Those words had guided him, inspired him, and reminded him that even ordinary humans could achieve extraordinary things when they had courage, heart, and the willingness to embrace the unknown.